10 annoying things that irritate Americans in the UK.
What can they possibly be? According to our research, these perfectly normal and reasonable things seem to annoy Americans when they come to live or visit the UK.
In no particular order.
Understatement. British people will very often downplay things so as not to seem dramatic. Probably not these British people.
Yeah, these two British people are very bad examples of this.
But in general, this is something that Americans might find quite strange or irritating. For example, if we say, oh, it's not bad, we'll mean it's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. Oh, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But in America, if you say it's not bad, it's just kind of okay.
Yeah.
It's not mediocre. Bad, but it's not great kind of thing.
Americans think we're a little bit grumpy, maybe, a little bit unenthusiastic, which we sometimes are, I have to say.
Yeah, that's probably fair. And it's something I sometimes notice now when talking to British people, because you're so used to, when you've lived out here for so long, you're so used to how Americans are and how everything's fantastic. And
awesome.
Yeah.
If you go like that back home, they think you're on something.
Yeah, like calm down, love.
Yeah, rein it in.
This is one way that the British are very different from Americans on the whole, I would say, and one of the most jarring things between the two cultures is how we express our enthusiasm, if we express it at all.
Obsessed with the weather. Now, British people are totally obsessed with continually complaining about the weather.
Yeah.
Regardless of what weather it is, we'll complain about it.
Doesn't matter.
No.
Could be hot, cold, sunny, windy, rainy, stormy. Yeah, we don't like any of it.
We don't like it, no. We moan continuously, we get too much rain, it's too cold. Then when we get a bit of sun, oh my God, this is so hot.
Yeah.
If anyone moans about the weather this week, don't have it off them. Get into it straight away, because this summer has been a disgrace so far. I've spent more money on central heating than I've spent on ice creams. I've worn my coat more often than I've worn my sunglasses. And that bottle of sun cream that I bought on that one hot day in May is starting to look like a worse investment than that NFT of a chimpanzee on a skateboard that I bought in 2021. So let's enjoy the summer properly, like British people should. Let's have a barbecue tonight and burn everything on it so badly that it does more damage to our systems than if we had a picnic in Chernobyl. Let's get the paddling pool out, get the kids in it, get your feet in it, get your tins of lager in it, get your dog in it as well. And let's spend the rest of this month moaning about a hosepipe ban as if we know what it is or as if it has any tangible impact on our lives.
I think some Americans might find this repetitive or trivial, especially in areas of the UK where the weather seems kind of stable.
Look, spring is here. No, it's gone. It's gone. It's back again. Gone again.
Compared to the extremes of some states.
Yeah, exactly. You get some very extreme weather out here in the US, but they don't talk about it as much.
No, quite.
It's okay to say it's cold, but here are some alternatives. It's chilly, it's nippy, it's freezing, it's Baltic, it's brass monkeys.
Customer service, expectations versus reality. Big one.
Where do we start?
Well, in America, customer service is, in general, absolutely incredible. This is something that the Americans do very well for the most part, in my experience. So things like complaints, exchanges, refunds, things like that might not be handled with the same grace in the UK that Americans would expect here in the US.
Yeah.
And I remember my poor husband, when he came to the UK for the first time, expecting the same level of customer service, not getting it and thinking there was something terribly wrong with everyone. I was like, no, this is just how we are.
And I think the concept of the customer is always right doesn't always play out over in the UK.
No, I think that's probably a more old-fashioned idea. The customer is always right. I think now people have the opposite mentality, that customers are just really a pain in the backside. British sarcasm and dry sense of humour. The British sense of humour tends to be very subtle, self-deprecating, and I think one of the things that I noticed when or at least at first when I was talking to Americans, I would say something to put myself down, you know, as we do in the UK.
Yeah, we do.
Like, oh God, I'm really terrible at this, or something like that. this just isn't my thing at all. And they'd be like, it's okay, you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
Yeah.
You can do it. Believe in yourself.
Yeah,
And I was like,
that is
what?
so true.
Like a Brit would just be like, yeah, you're effing awful at it. But Americans are like so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
They want to big you up and they want to big themselves up. In the UK, we don't really do this.
No, we don't.
Not if they're also taking the mickey out of themselves.
No.
If we know they're kind of having a laugh about themselves,
Yeah.
then we'll also have a laugh about
Yeah.
them. But this isn't really something that's done in America. So I think it can probably seem like we're all a bit negative. So when Americans come to the UK and they're faced with our sense of humour, us taking the mickey, I can imagine it must be quite hard to know how to navigate it if it's not something that you've really come across before. And a lot of Americans watch British TV and movies and love those things. Everyone I know's got BritBox.
Yeah.
But I think it's very different when it's actually happening to you.
Yeah, especially in a situation where you don't expect it.
Yes.
Excessive politeness. We often say please and thank you, not just once, but repetitively. Some Americans might find that a little bit over the top, a little bit formal maybe, and not necessary.
Even a little bit insincere at times.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think it is insincere. I think it is genuinely felt, but I also think it is habitual as well.
Yeah, it is. I've been told over there, I often say stop apologising.
Yes,
You know,
you've
and
done nothing wrong.
yeah, but you feel you have to.
We tend to be quite down on ourselves, as we mentioned earlier, and I think things like sorry, thank you, please can make us feel like we're being more humble.
Yes, and less direct. We don't like a direct request.
Oh yeah, I noticed this the other night. And I know that Americans, this is just how they talk. They're not trying to be rude. It's just one of those things that is so ingrained. But my husband and I were cooking together and he said, can you pass me a bowl? I did it. And I said, I wonder, would you mind possibly passing me that knife? He passed it to me and we kind of looked at each other. We were like, that was a fine example of the differences between how British people and American people
Yeah, perfect example.
speak. That might seem incredibly formal for Americans to think that's how you talk to your husband, but that's just how I
It's just
speak.
how you talk. Yeah, you wouldn't ask for anything if you've got good manners without saying please and thank you.
Yeah,
it
and
does-
dancing around it a bit. Like, I wonder, would it be possible if I could maybe
not
do
just
this?
will you.
Sorry to be inconvenient.
we don't
Sorry for
cause
even
offence.
existing or
Yeah,
breathing, but
yeah.
might I inconvenience you for this favour? It's kind of got that vibe to it.
It has. And also the use of the term she or he, like,
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
I'm trying to put it in a sentence.
Like, she'll have the steak.
Yeah, instead of my wife will have the steak or Lucy will have the steak, she'll have the steak.
This is very rude in the UK.
Yeah, you don't refer to somebody by their pronoun in that way because it's rude.
Yeah, like we have this expression, oh, who's she? The cat's mother?
Exactly.
That's what people
yeah.
say. If you say, oh, she'll do this, she'll have that. I think it would sound ridiculous to a lot of Americans that would be something that would be rude.
Confusing road systems.
To start off with, we obviously drive on the left. Very confusing for a lot of Americans and people from a lot of countries, I would imagine, who do
Yes.
not drive on the left. Of course, there's things like roundabouts, which we have a lot of in the UK.
There it is, there it is, there it is.
I know. I can't seem to get over to the left, honey.
The worst thing that scares me the most over there, and let me preface this by saying, we have roundabouts here. Where I live, we have roundabouts everywhere. Your roundabouts are way scarier. You are all like, just the way you do a roundabout is insane to me. First of all, you guys use blinkers. We don't even use blinkers on the roundabout. I don't know why we don't, but we don't. Second of all, your roundabouts are way more intricate than ours. Ours is just usually 4 ways you can, everybody kind of just goes and, you yield to the person coming to the left. But your roundabouts, they're super tricky to me. They freak me out. And Goonie Dad, when he goes through the roundabout, I feel like we're Batman and Robin and we're like on a mission.
But there's that, and then the fact that a lot of our cars are manual. We don't have a lot of automatic cars, so you have to adjust to the gear shift as well.
Plus, I can't drive stick shift. I can only drive automatic. I can't drive manual.
Some Americans did grow up driving with a stick shift.
True.
But of course, the thing that they find more difficult is it's on the other side. So it's using the other hand to change the gears, so it's all kind of back to front. The other issue Americans often have is our narrow, winding country roads.
Yes.
And our lack of parking spaces.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's probably a little bit different in the really big cities, city centres. But most places in America, anywhere you want to go, there'll be a massive car park right beside it. Very often in the UK, you have to park miles and miles away from wherever you want to go. And I know.
It's a real pain, Layla. Layla hates that.
Yeah, that's Layla's pet peeve.
And also sometimes the parking garages here are free. They're in a mall or something, you don't have to pay. Whereas one of the big things in the UK is the cost of parking. It's so expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll be trying to rush around doing whatever you need to do as quickly as possible so you can get back before it ticks over. The next one is smaller everything. Things like public transportation. You're often very close to people, particularly on things like the tube or buses, things like that. So I remember the first thing my husband said when he stepped off the tube and into London was, "Oh, look at all the cute little cars." Smaller homes, I suppose, would be one of the most obvious ones.
Yeah, like if you're going for an Airbnb or a hotel.
Yes.
I mean, particularly like a hotel in London, spaces at a premium. So unless you have got lots of money, the hotel room might be smaller than what you're used to in America.
The other thing that I've heard people comment on is how many townhouses we have, what we would call a terrace house, where the houses are joining each other with a shared wall between them, which they do have in America. You do see them, but they're very, very common in the UK, especially in cities. A lot of Americans I've heard say, "Oh, I'd never share a wall with my neighbours." Like it would be this shocking thing.
They really can't get over a washing machine being in the kitchen and not in a separate laundry room. And they don't all have tumble dryers, or some do have a washer dryer, but quite often you'll be provided with a little indoor hanging rack that we used to call a clothes horse. There are not always a lot of outlets, are there? Plug sockets.
Oh no, that's another big complaint I've heard from Americans in the UK is, where do I plug everything in? And it's like, well, you have to just use one thing at a time. You know, you can't possibly charge your phone and dry your hair at the same time.
No, my husband brings all this equipment with him so that he gets over that hassle, you know.
The extension cords.
All the other bits and pieces. So he brings all that because that's a bit inconvenient.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things that Americans comment on is the lack of convenience.
Yeah.
With everything really that we're mentioning, the space, the plug sockets, the parking, everything just feels a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
The next one is strange plumbing. So for example, in our bathrooms, you'll very often have a separate hot and cold tap, and this is because historically the hot and cold water came from different sources. Some newer buildings do now have mixer taps like you would see in America, but a lot of older homes will have the hot and cold tap separately. So it's kind of like you have to pick your poison. Do you want scalding hot water on your hands or freezing cold water on your hands? You can't get it nice and warm unless you were to kind of go back and forth like this.
Adding on to that, sometimes the water pressure might not be as strong as you get over here. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's fantastic, obviously, but quite often the water pressure in an older property might not be as strong. So Americans who are used to their power showers might find that the shower sometimes is a little bit dribbly in comparison. My husband's just called out from his office that the Resident Hotel in London near Covent Garden has got the best shower he's ever been in.
They're going to be getting all these calls from Americans now trying to book them.
So talking of my husband, another thing that he finds a bit irritating is lack of air conditioning. A lot of properties do not have air conditioning in the UK. It's not something that we normally need, but when in the summer we get this extended heat wave, it is unbearable. It's quite muggy and it's exceptionally hot. So you've got all these plug-in fans going which just circulate the warm air.
As many as you can fit in the few plug sockets that you have.
Limited ice and drink refills. So when Americans go to the UK, they are faced with the terrible situation of not always finding ice. Not all bars have ice available. They might put it in a bucket, but it might have melted.
It's probably melty.
And there's one tiny cube swimming in a pond of water.
Oh yeah, Americans hate that.
And then we don't have warm beer, but some ale you have to drink more at room temperature. Is that true?
I think they would call it cellar temperature.
Cellar temperature, yeah, that's right, not room.
So it's a bit cooler than room temperature. That's something that Americans mention to me a lot. They'll say, do you drink warm beer?
Yeah.
I hear that question all the time.
Yeah.
Do you drink warm beer? And you have to explain, no, it's cellar temperature, darling.
Yeah. Americans are very concerned about the high prices of alcohol in pubs, particularly these spirits or hard liquor. In America, it's more of a large pour into the glass. Freestyle, yeah. Whereas in the UK, it's measured by law. You can get a double, but no more than that at one time. But the double is often less than one single measure in the USA.
I think this is probably to reduce the number of drunk Brits.
Yeah. But just to add that our pints, the pints of beer, British pints are larger than the American pint.
True.
And our ale is probably stronger.
So let us know, Americans who have been to the UK, lived in the UK, or maybe just visited for a while, what really annoys you when you're in the UK? Now, I'm sure you have a laundry list about the size of your arm, but maybe just let us know 2 or 3 of them in the comment section below. We'd love to hear.
We really appreciate you watching our video. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like. And if you haven't done so already, we'd love it if you subscribe to our channel.